A newspaper published a very damaging article claiming a certain bank had risky investments and was poorly managed. By the next morning, as you can imagine, there was a crowd of frightened customers lined up waiting to withdraw all their savings. Now, the bank manager knew that if everyone wanted to withdraw all their money at the same time, the bank could collapse. He was overcome with fear and such terrible thoughts of his comfortable, rich lifestyle just slipping away. He needed some fresh air, so he went outside and wandered into a nearby park. Now, as he sat on a bench, a somewhat refined older gentleman approached him and asked him why he looked so depressed. After hearing the story, the stranger smiled and said, "For sure, you've heard of the billionaire John Rockefeller. Well, you're in luck. He's standing right in front of you. Now tell me, would a $1 million loan for 1 year solve your problem?" The manager was stunned. He could hardly believe it. And then, without asking for a contract or any security, the man wrote him a check for $1 million, saying the only thing he wanted was that they meet in the same park, same time, exactly 1 year later to return the loan. The manager went back to the bank a new man. He locked the check in the safe and he calmly started meeting with each customer one by one. He arranged a timetable of withdrawals for all of them, assuring them they can have all their money and making sure the bank wasn't in danger. Now, when people saw that the bank was able to easily return all the money to whoever wanted, they started to calm down a bit. The newspaper started thinking they made a mistake with such a harsh letter, and they actually came out with an apology. Well, as everything came back to normal, investors saw that the stock price of the bank went down and it was very undervalued. People started buying up shares of the bank stock and the price hit an all-time high and kept going up. Almost overnight, the bank manager's net worth climbed to a small fortune. Now, all this time, the check stayed in the safe, untouched. A year later, he took the check and he went back to the park to return the money. Now, he was waiting anxiously, and then he saw in the distance the older man he met a year ago. As he got closer, a nurse suddenly came between them and started reprimanding the older man, telling him to mind his own business. The nurse turned to the bank manager and she apologized. She said, "This old man I'm taking care of lives in the old age home down the street, and he's not all there. He thinks he's John Rockefeller. He walks around with a checkbook, handing out checks for $1 million to people he meets. If I wasn't here, he would probably have written you one of those phony checks." Well, the bank manager was in shock. I mean, the whole year, he was sure John Rockefeller saved his life. But what really saved him? It wasn't the money, because he didn't have any. And it wasn't the newspapers, because they still thought that the bank was going under. What saved him was his mindset. You see, it was always good from the beginning. Nothing ever changed. But he needed some motivation to believe it. Once he had some backing and everything would be okay, he behaved that way, like everything was going to be okay. And he started looking for the good and thinking positive. I'll tell you a secret. Kadosh Baruch Hu is wealthier, he's stronger, he's smarter, and he loves you more than John Rockefeller. He's got your back. You just have to start believing it and behaving like you can depend on Hashem for everything in your life. Parents don't let their children down when they ask for help. How much more so Hashem? In this week's Parsha, Korah gathers men to take on Moshe Rabbeinu. And how could it be that one of the wealthiest men that ever lived, with a prestigious position amongst Klal Yisrael of carrying the Holy Ark, how could he think he was lacking? Because negative thoughts of jealousy and anger for no reason caused him to behave like a failure, deserving more. Because he could only think of the negative, his mindset brought him and his followers down. If he realized how good his situation really was and how many gifts he had in his life, he would have went down in the history books as the forefather of many honorable future leaders in Klal Yisrael. Instead, he was the one who caused division. He fought with Moshe and was swallowed alive. If you want to know where you're headed in life, you want to know what tomorrow will bring, just check your mindset. Have a great Shabbos.